Hello travelers, welcome to What's Up Wednesday. We're going on to technical questions part 2. Question number 1, gas mileage. How much gas mileage do I get? About 8 to 10 miles to the gallon, and I get the same with or without Outback. Okay, question number 2, how far do I travel in a day? I like to use the rule of twos. 2 hours a day, get there before 2, and stay a minimum of 2 days. Get there before 2 is kind of important because if you don't and you get there later and your camp area is just not going to work out where you had planned to go, you might have to go somewhere else. So that means you need time to find that somewhere else, that plan B, and get there, and you got to do that before dark. I don't like traveling after dark. I don't like finding a camp spot after dark, and just trying to find a place out here in the desert or someplace that you're unfamiliar with after dark is like, it's crazy. There's all kinds of things that you could miss in the road, bumps, holes in the ground, everything. Next question, what is a good number of miles to drive in a day when you have a long trip ahead? Probably about 4 hours, no more than 4 hours. That's at 55 miles an hour is where I figure my hours out. Because anything on Google that tells you an hour, you might as well plan an hour and a half to 2 hours in a motorhome. I like to stay at about 60, 65 miles an hour. Next question, why a van versus an RV? I originally wanted a Class B motorhome. I've always wanted a Class B. I've traveled in a fifth wheel. I've traveled in a truck camper. I've traveled by bicycle using a tent. And I've traveled in the B Plus. And now I'm in a van. The B Plus was nice. It has all the amenities you would ever want. Same with the fifth wheel or anything of that nature. Problem I found with mine, and it was a relatively new one. It was a 2007. It didn't have high miles. Had like 40,000 miles on it when I got it. It had sat for a while, I'm sure, so a lot of the seals in that had to be fixed. Also, I had to fix hydraulic lifts, and I had to fix other things on the motorhome that I could not do. The van, I'm not able physically to do a lot of mechanical issues on the van, but I know enough about the engines, the older engines, that I could possibly troubleshoot some things. Not everything, just some things. With the back to the Class B, the main reason I didn't get a Class B was cost. Class Bs are expensive, and the way they're built, there's really no room. And when I got this van, I fell into this van because if I had to have a van that I was going to build out, it was going to be a ProMaster or something of that nature. But I just kind of fell into Vinny, and I am super happy because of how big this van is. This van is just like driving a bigger Class C or even a tiny Class A. It turns like a Class A. It drives a lot like a Class A. But it has the space in it of a real shrimpy short Class A. It's about the same width. It's just shorter. So I don't know. I like my van. I just like it. It's personal preference, I guess. So the next question is pros and cons of a factory Class B or a cargo van build. Now, there's lots of pros and cons there that I can think of. Pros for a Class B factory built, it's already built. You don't have to do anything. You just pick the model and move in. It already has the cabinets, it has the beds, it has the bathroom, it has the kitchen, it has everything you need already built in, and they're really nice. Con, it has a lot of systems that can go wrong with it. 2 electrical systems, the 12-volt system and the 110 system. Those are 2 different kinds of systems that you would have to deal with electrically. The water system, you could have leaks and that sort of thing because you have plumbing involved. Hot water tanks, water pumps, knowing how to winterize your water if you want to travel in colder areas with snowy areas or freezing cold areas. All of that is part of a factory built Class B or a Class C or a Class A. All of that's included in that. Another pro, you can stand up in it. Most of them you can stand up and move around. You have closets. And you can get in RV parks and things of that nature where with a cargo van, it's going to be a little difficult to get into RV parks or places where motorhomes go, but you'll be able to park in places where they don't want motorhomes to go. So that's a kind of a double thing. Cargo vans, usually you can't stand in them unless there's a high top involved. Cargo van build, you know what's going in there. You can build it to taste. You can build it the way you like it. And the sky's the limit. Size is the limit, actually. So you can build it to anything that will fit in the size that you have. You don't have to have plumbing. You don't have to have power. You don't have to have any kind of system at all. You can put a bed in there, have a cook stove, have a way to keep yourself warm, and a chair in there, and you're done. Your build's over. You can live in that. You can put your stuff in boxes and store it. So you can go simple or you can go elaborate, whatever you want. That's the difference, or the pros and cons of a cargo van that you would build out. Mine's not a cargo van. Mine was a passenger van, and actually was a bus. It was a city transit bus. So it had, I think, 12 seats in here and seatbelts galore. Had a wheelchair lift, wheelchair lock-ins. So it was built for people to ride in here and stand up. So there's plenty of room for all of that. So those are the pros and the cons of the van versus factory Class B. Okay, the next question is, how can you use a generator to charge the house batteries when solar power is low or non-existent? When I first bought Vinny, I had a welder build a tray onto the front of my van and weld 1 by 1 square steel tubing to my frame. Now, if I did it all over again, I would rather have 2 receiver hitches put in, small ones, not the big Class 3 or 5, I think, is the big ones that where you can hook up a trailer, but the small ones for like they would put on small cars, to where this tray could be slid in and taken out. I guess if I sold this van and wanted to move my tray over, I could always cut it, but I don't think I ever would. I think I would leave it. But I built this tray and my generator sits right on top of that, and the generator has an extension cord going from the generator. And when I say extension cord, I'm talking a really heavy duty one. This would be a 12 or 10 gauge extension cord. The bigger the better. I would not use one of those outdoor cords. They're too small. This is a contractor's cord. It's a biggie. So it has one of those running from the generator under the van, and it's zip tied in strategic places so that nothing that moves under the van could tear up the cord. And then it comes up into the van and is wired into a household plug-in. And that is my generator power. So when I don't have any sun, I can plug my battery charger into that outlet, that generator outlet. So I have power coming from the generator going directly to the charger, which is a battery charger, and I can set what type of battery I have, and how quickly I want it charged. I have 3 different options. I have a 2 amp, a 10 amp, and a 20 amp charger. And I bought a smart charger to do all this charging with. Now, what that will do is that is connected to the battery, and it automatically will charge that battery. So I will unplug my refrigerator and whatever I have in here that's plugged into my batteries. I'll unplug them. I'll charge the batteries directly, and I will plug my refrigerator also into that plug-in that's coming off of the generator. So now I'm powering the refrigerator and I'm charging the batteries. So that's how I get batteries charged without solar power when the sun's gone. So next question is how much solar for my 35-foot RV and the best batteries to be used. Now, charging a 35-foot RV, I'm not familiar with because I don't have one. And I don't know how much solar you need to put on that RV. The first question you need to ask yourself is, what am I going to power so that I know how much power I need? So that would take and mean that you need to check and see how much each appliance uses as far as power goes, and then you'll know how much power needs you're going to have. In a 35-foot RV, you already have an inverter on there and you have 2 batteries on board. That's not enough to charge your systems. Usually it has a smaller inverter that might operate a television and maybe the lights, and that's about it. If you're going to use your microwave or your heater or anything else, you're going to need a much bigger inverter, and you're going to need a much bigger solar array to do it. And I'm not the one to tell you that. You would have to contract somebody that deals with solar to be able to tell you. And as far as the best batteries to use, right now the best using, unless you're going to go with lithium, and I know nothing about lithium. Lithium's very expensive and I know nothing about it. The better batteries to use that you can get the most power out of would be the heavy duty golf cart batteries. They are 6-volt batteries. You need to have 2 of those to make a 12-volt system. Your motorhome runs on a 12-volt or a 24-volt system. I'm not familiar with the 24 volts, can't tell you anything about that. But in order to run a 12-volt system, you need 2 6-volts hooked together to run a 12-volt system. Now, a lot of motorhomes come with 12-volt batteries, and there's 1 or 2 of those in, and those are okay. And you can charge the things that you need in the house and run some lights and things like that. But the best batteries, I think, are the heavy-duty golf cart batteries, because they're designed to be charged down and recharged often, and they have a longer life cycle. That's about all I know as far as like the best batteries. AGMs, which are sealed batteries, are good because you don't need to put them in a special compartment, and you can lay them down and on the side instead of having them stand up, because they're not going to leak and you don't have to maintain them. However, they're minimum $100 more money than your lead acid batteries. So they cost a lot more. I guess it would boil down to personal preference when you get down to the root of it. Anyway, that's all of the questions I have in technical part 2. Anyway, follow your heart, embrace your dream, and cherish your life. And I hope you enjoyed this episode of What's Up Wednesday, technical part 2. All right, until next time, we'll catch you later. Bye-bye.